with credit for 143 days. Consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and for appropriate punishment.
Sit down. Get out, man. Come on, man.
Sit down.
What you mean, man?
Stay down.
No, man. Get
Yeah.
here, man.
Judge.
You took my plea back, man. You, man.
At first, this sounds like a heartfelt apology, but in a courtroom, words alone rarely decide the outcome. Judges don't just listen for remorse. They look for accountability backed by actions. The big question is, will this apology match the evidence, or will it fall apart under scrutiny?
I'd like to apologize to the courts for appearing before them today. I'd like to apologize to the victim in this case. I'm not going to use alcohol or drugs as an excuse for anything. However, alcohol was a main factor in this case. But I take full responsibility for my actions because I chose to make the irresponsible decision consuming too much alcohol than I could handle, causing poor, regretful choices leading to my incarceration. I've read the police reports and feel ashamed, embarrassed, and hurt because that's not the person I am. And I wouldn't be standing here today if I would have just been more responsible. I have 4 younger children that I've let down because of being locked away from them, missing out on watching them grow. Having to deal with that is a heartache alone. The only thing I can do now is work on myself while incarcerated, take advantage of all programs they offer, and become a better man and a better father, and not give up doing so. I have to make this my last time in jail, and I plan to. I'm sincerely remorseful to my victim in this case, letting her down when I was supposed to be a father figure in her life. Beat myself up over this every day, over this, wishing I could take it all back. I just hope she can grow up in life and leave this in the past, and that it doesn't affect her future. Again, I'm sorry to everyone I caused pain to in this case.
Celeste?
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing that the defendant said today in court, and even in his pre-sentence report that stood out to me, is that he was supposed to be a loving and caring father. And I couldn't agree more with that. He should have been someone that the victim could trust and rely on for protection and guidance. And instead, he used his role as a parental figure to manipulate her, exploit her, and violate her. When this happened, the victim was just...
This is the moment the case takes a devastating turn. The prosecutor isn't just describing a crime. She's explaining a betrayal of trust. In cases involving child victims, abuse by a parental figure is often treated as an especially serious aggravating factor during sentencing.
13 years old, 13 years and 8 months to be exact. And as much as the defendant wants to talk about the other children in his life, when the defendant committed this offense, it was done in his home, in her home, with his other children present. Not only that, his 4-year-old Sarah and the 7-year-old Ben actually observed the defendant engaging in the kissing and the touching of the victim's erogenous zones. Later, when the defendant went into the victim's bedroom to engage in the sexual conduct, a 1-year-old was sleeping in the pack and play next to her, and there was a 3-year-old in the room who was awake on her phone, according to the victim. And while there is a jointly recommended sentence here, the state believes it's essential to highlight not only what the defendant did pre-indictment, but also what he did after his arrest in this case. While incarcerated, he continued to communicate with the victim while in the Lake County Jail. He attempted to guilt and manipulate her by blaming her for her own suicide attempt at the East Lake Jail. He pressured her to express her feelings to law enforcement about him or her desire for him to only receive a short sentence. He spoke of wanting to attend counseling together. He emphasized they were a team and told her he loved her, despite being her abuser, despite doing what he did here. And during several of these recorded calls, you can hear the victim crying, further illustrating just the ongoing emotional harm caused by the defendant and his conduct. This behavior
Notice what the prosecutor is emphasizing here. The alleged manipulation didn't stop after the arrest. Recorded jail calls can become powerful evidence, especially if they suggest attempts to influence a victim or shift blame. That can significantly affect how a judge views genuine remorse.
Demonstrates his continued disregard for the well-being of the victim, his family, and his ongoing efforts to control her and manipulate her. The defendant today in court said he's remorseful, but in the pre-sentence report, he didn't believe he did anything wrong, and he wants to take this to trial. So I'm not sure what this court can believe. He has a lengthy criminal history, including 4 prior prison numbers and 5 felony cases. And all of this, I think, supports the need for a significant term of incarceration, and respectfully ask this court to impose a jointly agreed sentence of 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Why did you call her after you were in jail?
I was told by the detective I was allowed to. I didn't call her, I called my wife and she answered the phone.
And what contact did you have with her about retracting her statement or modifying her statement?
It wasn't retracting it. We talked about counseling, going to counseling and stuff, because that was something that they was talking about making them do, and something she said she didn't want to do.
Well, that trying to, whether directly contacting her or contacting her through your wife, was wholly inappropriate, and it was further evidence of you trying to take advantage of her at that young age, like you did when this happened.
She asked the detective if she could have contact with me when this case was all started. And then when I went to my preliminary hearing on February 11th, I asked the detective, and he told me the same thing.
Well, you're experienced enough in the system to have the wisdom that you shouldn't have been contacted. In talking to her, having about anything having to do with this case. So you in your statement, you say you apologize to her, but then in the pre-sentence report, you talk about how you don't believe you did everything you're accused of doing and wanted to take this to trial. What's that all about?
I don't remember exactly what I said, Your Honor, but what I was saying was I don't have recollection of what happened the night of, so
This exchange is absolutely critical. The judge is testing the defendant's credibility. Admitting guilt while also claiming not to remember key events creates a contradiction, and credibility often plays a major role when the court decides an appropriate sentence.
I wasn't admitting to, I don't know what happened.
So did you or didn't you do this stuff?
Yes.
And I got to tell you, it doesn't get much worse than this kind of stuff.
I understand.
And I would note in the record that in 2009 or 2010, you were sentenced to prison on a burglary, released on judicial release, and then returned to prison after a violation of the judicial release. And you were released January 7th of 13. You went back to prison on another case on May 1st of 13 and got out in August. Went to prison on an attempted burglary, trespass in a habitation, breaking and entering, June 23 of 16 through August 5 of 18. A whole bunch of theft offenses between that last prison sentence and where you are today. You've had a lifetime of criminal activity, but none worse than what has occurred here. I've reviewed the pre-sentence report and a victim impact statement. I've considered what you have said, what counsel has said, and I've also considered that they've made a joint recommendation of 96 months in prison. And so on count, and I've considered all the provisions in 29, 29, 11, 29, 29, 12, 13, and 14. Consideration of all that, on count 5, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months, and count 6, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months that will be consecutive to one another with credit for 143 days. Consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you.
And there it is, the emotional explosion after the sentence is announced. Just moments earlier, the courtroom heard calm statements of regret. Now, the sudden outburst creates a dramatic contrast, reminding everyone how quickly emotions can boil over when consequences become real.
And for appropriate
Sit
punishment.
down.
No, man. Come on.
Sit down.
You mean, man?
Stay down.
Oh, man. Get me the out of here, man.
Judge.
Come on.
And
You took my plea back, man. Get me the out of here, man. Get me out of here, man.
Sit down.
Get me out of here, man.
Almost done, Judge.
Get me the out of here.
and
Get me out of here now.
Stop.
and second,
Get me out of here, man. What the you mean? Get me the out of here. Man, get me the out of here, man. Get me out of here, man. The 6 minutes, sir. Okay, 1 minute, sir. Man, we're all the time. No, we're going to the morning.
Put me on your visiting list.
All right.
For jail and
All right, man. Stop touching me, man. I'm not doing shit. I'm not doing shit.
all right, consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by the defendant and for appropriate punishment, and they are very proportionate to the seriousness of the conduct and the danger he poses to the public. And his history of criminal conduct demonstrates that consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by the defendant. Officer assessed the
Asterisk. The judge's reasoning focused on more than a single offense. Criminal history, the impact on the victim, and the need to protect the public all shaped the final decision. What do you think? Was this sentence appropriate? Or should the court have considered something different?
Any charges are dismissed. Anything else, Ms. Alessi?
Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Watson?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.
And there it is, the emotional explosion after the sentence is announced. Just moments earlier, the courtroom heard calm statements of regret. Now, the sudden outburst creates a dramatic contrast, reminding everyone how quickly emotions can boil over when consequences become real. Asterisk, the judge's reasoning focused on more than a single offense. Criminal history, the impact on the victim, and the need to protect the public all shaped the final decision. What do you think? Was this sentence appropriate? Or should the court have considered something different? This exchange is absolutely critical. The judge is testing the defendant's credibility, admitting guilt while also claiming